Right, a spoiler alert, if you want a homage to a very popular diver, there are not many, if any, brands that can touch this WM timepiece in the same price category. They did a lot of things really well here, definitely more than I expected, which is great. However, they did a couple of things that I'm definitely not convinced about. So, in short, it is a very interesting watch. However, there are things that you definitely need to know about before buying this watch. What things? Well, we have it here. Let's take a closer look. Hello and welcome back. So, when WM Watch sent me the renders of this new diver and asked me if I would like to review it, well, I simply couldn't say no. There are so few homages to Grand Seiko divers compared to Rolex homages, for example, that I didn't want to miss the opportunity. Now, what makes this one even more special is that it is priced at about $100, which makes it practically a unicorn because there is simply no competition in the same price segment. And of course, an obligatory disclaimer, on my part I agree to share a comprehensive review of this timepiece and highlight all the positives and negative parts, and of course point you to the product listings of this watch should you want to explore it further. And so all the necessary links will be in the description of this video. Now, I already mentioned that this is a homage to a Grand Seiko diver, a professional diver to be more accurate. However, there is one thing that might potentially deter some prospect buyers from that $11,000 timepiece, and it is the size. The Grand Seiko watch measures 47mm in diameter, 16mm thick, and it has 23mm lugs to keep all that bulk in proportion. And in this respect, WM watches made some changes by shaving a few millimeters here and there, making this watch more versatile, as we will see shortly. Jumping slightly ahead, I can also tell you that WM Watch delivered a very potent lume on this watch, as we will see in my 15-minute test later in this review. Another obvious difference between the Grand Seiko diver and this timepiece is, of course, the movement. We will not see here the state-of-the-art Seiko spring drive caliber, and we will not see the 36,000 vibrations per hour high-beat movement here either. Actually, there is no Seiko movement here at all, not even the run-of-the-mill Seiko NH35. Instead, WM Watches installed an upgraded Miyota 8215 caliber here, which comes from another large Japanese watch manufacturer, Citizen, and does a pretty decent job. It is an automatic mechanical movement which also hacks and can be hand-wind. Also, while this movement is known to have a somewhat more audible rotor, I didn't particularly notice any higher than usual sounds in day-to-day use. Most likely because of somewhat more beefier case, which helps to suppress the noise of the movement. Right, so I mentioned that we have here more compact dimensions compared to the Grand Seiko diver, and the case on this watch measures across 44mm. However, the bezel diameter, which kinda defines the visual size of the watch, is slightly smaller at 43mm. The case height is really well managed at only 12mm, and we have 22mm lugs. Lug-to-lug distance is 47mm, which is a good size too. Okay, the protruding end links do extend the length to almost 53mm, however, taking into account that the end links are quite aggressively pointing down, it doesn't particularly make much of a difference on the wrist. The bracelet also has a nice taper down to 20mm by the clasp, and as supplied it will cover wrists up to 8¼ of an inch in circumference. And this watch weighs 171 grams, so not too heavy, but it will definitely make its presence known. So the case is made out of 316L stainless steel. We have a multitude of various facets, chamfers and bevels, which are mostly mirror polished except for the flanks, which feature longitudinal brushing. The finishing is actually pretty good. The separations between the facets are crisp yet smooth, and the case definitely looks more expensive than the price tag suggests. Right, flipping the case over, and we have a screw-on exhibition caseback through which we can see the Miyota movement. Not the sexiest movement, however, given the price point of this watch, an exhibition caseback does add some visual interest, so I'm okay with that. We have a signed crown at focal position, and it is well recessed into the case, and as such is protected from sideway knocks and bumps. The crown is well proportioned and is pleasure to operate, however it is a push-pull crown, which is a bit of a strange design decision on a declared 200 meters water-resistant watch. I received a lot of comments that it is definitely not unheard of, and I personally have a 100 meter Tissot watch which has 100 meters of water resistance and a push-pull crown, so I'm not saying that it is impossible. However, I would definitely have much more confidence in submerging this watch if it had a screw-down crown. So, looking at the crystal, well, luckily there are no compromises or strange design decisions here. We have a flat sapphire crystal with plenty of clear anti-reflective undercoating applied, which is very effective, and the dial is very legible. Now, here is something that is slightly different from most watches, and that is the position of the crystal in relation to the bezel. Instead of quite common design approach of crystal being above the bezel, here it is actually recessed, and as such is set about, I would say, at least a half a millimeter below the bezel level. As you can have guessed, this design is very similar to the Grand Seiko approach, which might have been driven by a practical consideration of protecting the crystal on their professional diver watches. Now, another area of this timepiece that surprised me in a good way was the bezel. Normally the bezel is one of those components where manufacturers tend to cut costs, especially when it comes to $100 price category. Well, the good news that it is not the case here. We have 120 click unidirectional bezel with ceramic insert and engraved markers and lumed pip at 12 o'clock position. The bezel is constructed very well, and the gear-shaped grip is sculpted and finished really nicely. The bezel is also well set, and the tolerances are quite tight. There is hardly any side play in this bezel, which is good. Now, when it comes to bezel action, well, the resistance is pretty much spot on. We get a solid tactile ratchety sound. There is a bit of a backplay, nothing overly dramatic, and definitely better than most Seiko divers bezels that are tested under $400. And here is how it sounds. And here is another part of this watch that I struggle to fault, starting from the background, which has rich dark royal blue, almost black color with a very fine finish resulting in a subtle but very nice sunburst effect. We have applied hour markers, which are very well filled with Lume, as we will see in a moment. We also have WM Watch's new logo, or rather their current logo, but without their previous brand name. If you recall, after feedback on a couple of my reviews, they recently rebranded from Willy Merck to WM Watches. A very prudent move, in my humble opinion. We have a well-finished set of hands, which of course are not much different, at least in appearance, from the hands that this watch was inspired by, and there is a date window at 4 o'clock position. Of course, we need to look at the Lume. Here is my usual 15-minute Lume test, and I'm happy to report that the Lume is on par with some much more expensive divers in my collection. They might have deployed maybe a little bit more Lume on hands, but I'm most likely nitpicking here. The Lume is very good, especially considering the price point of this watch. As for the bracelet, taking into account the price point, WM watches did pretty well. However, it looks like at least some compromises had to be made. So we have here a solid stainless steel bracelet, the protruding end links are also solid, which is good, and we have a combination of brushed and high polished finishes, giving this bracelet a premium look. However, the integration between the case locks and the end links are not super refined. It is okay, however, at a very close inspection we can see that not all the facets are flush, and to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't expect them to be at $100 price point. The bracelet links are also made out of solid stainless steel. The links are actually quite chunky, which gives the bracelet nice and weighty feel, and also helps to counterbalance the prominent case of this watch, so it doesn't feel that top heavy on the wrist. The links are well machined, and at the close inspection we can see that the links are actually constructed from 5 parts that are fused together, and this approach results in more crispier transitions between the high polished and brushed parts of the links. The links are connected by pins, which is fine at this price point, and WM watches also supplied a tool that let us remove the links, which is definitely helpful. As for the clasp, well, it is the simplest component here. A pretty straightforward butterfly clasp. It works well, so no complaints. However, it comes with all the shortcomings of such clasp. No macro adjustment, no dive extension, and of course no on-the-fly adjustment either, which might make it finding a perfect fit a bit challenging. Luckily, links are not very large, so it kinda reduces the problem. I managed to get a fairly snug fit on my about 7-inch wrist. Because of the really low profile of the case, this chunky watch wears really comfortably. So, verdict time. Well, I am impressed and a little bit annoyed by this watch at the same time. There are so many things that are definitely done well here, like really good lume, surprisingly decent bezel action and good bracelet for the price. And not to forget the very good proportions that will make this watch fit many more wrist sizes compared to the 47mm Grand Seiko. So, as a daily desk diver, I think for around $100, this watch ticks a lot of boxes and something I would definitely recommend. Now, if you want to take it under the water, well, the push-pull crown still gives me pause. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And for more great value watches, check out my playlist on the screen over here. Don't forget to like, of course, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.